Hi, this is Dr. Mark Sell for the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart. I am going to go over more of Bonnie Ware's reports on the regrets of people who were dying and what they missed doing in life. And we went over two so far, not following my dreams and living according to the expectations of others. Where does that get you? And the other one was that I'm not expressing my feelings, having the courage to express my feelings. And the first one was also having the courage to follow my dreams. And this is a lot about courage and the people that wish that they had more of it. She was a nurse, Bonnie Ware, who wrote a book on the top 5 regrets of the dying. And she worked with those people very closely. It's a great book. You can look it up. It has many followers in terms of millions of people who have read it. She also got very depressed after working so hard, and at one point became suicidal. And she turned to self-care. She needed to care more for herself. She paid so much attention to others. So she cautions us in her writing to do the same. Take care of yourself and have compassion for yourself. And she did it through meditation. That's something that I advocate very frequently with people who I work with, because you can do it on your own anytime. In the office, you can do it at home. Usually you want a quiet place and lie prone and not use too much muscular activity, because that's a good way to discharge the feelings that you want to encounter often, although that's what I recommend anyway. But meditation alone is not going to be sufficient. Are stats efficient? I have some stats for you. Sufficient. There's a lot of things about statistics. Like people, how many things went out about this terrible pictures on the TV of somebody's lungs, and the terrible pictures how they just couldn't speak adequately. It was awful. But I don't know how effective they are. They have been helping people stop smoking. I just don't know. Also with drinking, they found that the most effective way to help people drinking, I don't think it was intended as a way, but to raise taxes in the states where they raise taxes on liquor, they reduce the amount of alcohol consumption. So I have some statistics for you. I had some before about cancer. I'm interested to know if these help. This is about people who have fewer contacts than others, and compared to them, compare the two groups to each other. And there are across 148 studies, 308,849 participants. They indicated a 50% increased likelihood of survival for participants with stronger social relationships. That's quite a statistic. The socially isolated had a risk of subsequent cardiac death 2.4 times greater than their more socially connected peers. So today we're going to talk about the regrets, the other regrets. As I said, I mentioned the one about not having the courage to follow my dreams and not having the courage to express my feelings. And then the regrets of not being more in touch with their friends, not being able to be more happier, and not being able to, and working so hard. That was a main regret. I remember one study they did, and they asked in this study if men, I think it was men only, I'm not so sure, but anyway, I think it was men, and they, given choice, would you rather have more time spent at work or with your family? And they chose work. So Bonnie recommends medication, or medication. Well, the medication would be meditation. That's a form of medication. It's a good one to relax you. It's very good for relaxing. But there are problems with just meditation alone. The problems are that there are internal forces that go against self-care. And I've discussed many of these in my videos, all, what is it, 32 of them now? But they're there. I think they're good to study over and over again. You might miss some very important things in just one watching. I know people watch them very frequently. They've told me that. So, but we have feelings like I'm worthless, I'm a piece of shit, I don't expect anyone would love me, I'm dumb, or being so alone and depressed that you're too numb to think about anything or feel anything. And these self-attacks usually are meant for somebody else. They're meant for people who have been ridiculing us or scolding us or demanding too much of our lives, dismissing our feelings, deserting us physically, sometimes beating us as well as emotionally, scolding and beating us. So we're not born with these feelings. We're not. We acquire them through the ways that we are raised and through our caregivers. And many people are very reticent about feeling angry towards their parents. They feel they have to protect them. I mean, parents are humans. They're going to make mistakes. They're not going to be perfect, and they shouldn't be expected to be. But however, you should be able to also be invited by those caregivers to express your feelings when you're scolded or humiliated. I think one of the biggest things that a parent can do is turn around and say, I'm sorry I yelled at you. I don't want to be that kind of parent. That's the way my parents were with me. So we're not born with these feelings. They occurred within a relationship, and they need to be healed within a relationship. If you go to videos 1 and 2, the person in that video asked if I lived where I worked. He's talking to a person. He's not meditating, and that person is going to have an interaction with him. And through that relationship, they're going to discover some of the ghosts of the past that one thinks have been laid to rest, but haven't. So he was asking me if I lived here, and why that question was important to him. I asked him some questions about what was important to him. He said, well, if you lived here, you come a long way at 7 o'clock in the morning to talk to me. So he said that would make me feel that I was special. If you had to commute, if you just walked down the stairs, I wouldn't feel as special. So his need to be special was being announced that way only through my investigating with him of his question. If I just answered it flat out, I wouldn't have gotten that. It was through discussion, dialogue. That's what. So I was thinking about the little prince right now because I'm making a podcast. By the way, that's an announcement. I intended to announce it later on, but I'm going to make a podcast, and I introduced the podcast by the little prince wanting to be tamed by the fox, and he says, "How should I tame you?" And the fox says, "Well, we're going to meet at a regular place, at a regular time, and we're going to get to know each other. We're going to establish ties." And in the book, which is a wonderful book, 80 million copies, 130 languages. It's my favorite book. From the Wisdom of a Child. The author, by the way, was discouraged from being the artist that he wanted to be. So he turned, I think that's why he turned to writing. Follow your dreams. Interference with that. So therefore, he also, they were going to sit close to each other each time they met, a little closer, a little closer. But that's the idea of getting to know one another over a length of time. That's the frame of therapy, the same place, the same time, right? So go to that video, and that person, he wanted to be special. And so he was bringing to me his problem with that question. Do you live here? So if I just answer that, so that's the relationship. So he wants to feel special with me too. And the way that treatment would work would be he would feel special with me after a long time because he was beaten severely as a child. And you know, so he learned to trust. He would learn to trust over time, and that he could free speak with me and not be hit, and he could speak up to me too. Maybe he might be pissed off at something that I say, and I would encourage him to say how he felt about the way he was being treated with me. You know, if he when he could manage that. That's very hard for people. It's like people that, as I said, they protect their parents. They don't, no matter what their parents do, they can't. They've heard so loyal to parents. You know, there should be in a commandment. Thou shalt honor thy children. 25% of children are sexually abused in this country. Thou shalt honor thy children. It's only honor thy father and mother. A woman who I worked with, I mentioned this in the last video. I think it was the last one. I worked with her, and she was very criticized as a child herself, and about her performance and how well she was doing in grades. And so she had a daughter, and they would go for walks, and she would always bring up grades. You know, everything is, I mean, there's so much emphasis on grades, right? You're 2 years old, you want to go to the best school. I brought my son to one of the best schools, and they said, well, you know, we have only lawyers and doctors here. When I heard that, no way, Jose. I want to go to a school where there's more experience with different kinds of people, and you know, different people, you know, not homogeneous. So a lot of emphasis on grades just to get into that school. You know, it was like competition. I don't know, but anyway, that's my little spiel on the educational system. But she would go for walks with her daughter, and she always asked her about grades. Well, how are you doing in your grades? What are your grades? What are your grades? You know? So her daughter wanted to talk about the kids that she was hanging out with, and who was going out with who, and how they were dressing, and all these things of interest to her. She gave a message to her mother that this wasn't too kindly received about these intrusive questions about grades. So she wouldn't listen to my advice, so she continued to do it. So I got more strong about it. I said, listen, I want you to, on your walks, on your next walk, I don't want you to ask any questions about grades. Just listen. Listen to her. She wants to talk about other things. So at the end of that walk, the daughter opened up to her mother, and she said, you know, I want to tell you something I haven't told you before. This has been a secret, but I've been harming myself. She was cutting herself. So there it was an open road to help her daughter with this tremendous secret that she had, that she could never have a chance to express because so much emphasis was on one thing: performance and grades. So, this is Dr. Mark Sell for the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart, and it's all about the role of emotions in our lives. Like the woman said, all those women, people, not just women, people said they were, wished they had the courage to express their feelings, and that's what YouTube channel is all about, the role of emotions in our lives, and how whether those emotions can be acknowledged, first of all, identified, acknowledged, like identifying shame, for instance. If you can identify shame, you can cure it. If you don't identify it, and you identify it by talking about yourself and your life as you roll along in the weeks of therapy and things come out. One of them is shame. It's a soul killer. So it's the role of emotions in your life and how they affect you. The unconscious also, it's about the role of the unconscious. We don't just directly go at the unconscious because you can't, you know, it's unconscious. But the unconscious exists very strongly, and therapy does address those manifestations. But it not through meditation, because there's too much resistance to addressing things and talking about. There's a resistance to talk. I want to and I don't want to. It's like I want to go to therapy. I want to and I don't want to. And so I'll pick up the phone and I'll make a call to the therapist and I'll ask him for his fee. And then if he says it's $100, I'll hang up the phone because it's too much. Well, it's not too much necessarily. You know, the therapist can help you figure out a way to be in treatment, but it's a relief to find out that you don't have to go in therapy, because it's fear. There's fear about going and being, it's a feel like it's a sign of weakness. What are you going to be asked? It's an unknown. So many fears attached to coming. I give you credit for coming to therapy, but it's a lot of courage to do that. And it's not a weakness. The real weakness is not coming. The real courage is coming. The weakness is repeating your problems over and over and over again. Ad infinitum. You come back to me 10 years and you will say, well, gee, I wish I started then, you know. Like these people who were interviewed, they wished. So what can you do? Well, this is an example I just gave you of what you could do with children. Is you could change your behavior. If your behavior is not being effective, see if you can ask the child, how am I behaving? How would you like me to behave? You can ask them to give you an evaluation of yourself as a parent. How about that? That just that just came to me. Did you hear that? I think that's a great idea. You know, in Employer 101, employee relationships, I did a whole conference one time. Not a conference, but I helped people at the World Trade Center, a whole group of people. And they were so mad at their employers because the employers never identified how they felt about watching this thing happen, the World Trade Center, 9/11, before their eyes. So they pulled me in to help them. The employers helped the employees talk about it, and I said, well, I'll do that, but you have to be there. You know, they got to talk to you. I'll help and facilitate it. And all their feelings came out about being dismissed. So get an evaluation from your child about how you're doing as a parent. That's not such an absurd idea. So this is Dr. Mark Sell for the Therapy for the Heart. And I think I said I'm trying to make a podcast. I'm going to say trying to, but so those who can listen to it without just using videos, because sometimes you just can't watch a video, but you could listen to a podcast. So my number is 212-228-3467, and my email is marksell, MARKSEHL @gmail.com. And people just recently wrote in, they like to use the form letter on my marksell.com. So you go to marksell.com and it says contact, and there's a form you can fill out, or reason why you're requesting a consultation and what some of your concerns are. Not lengthy at all. Just send that in. Just fill it out and click it. And go to me. And I also have a way you can text me. Most people don't. Well, I think text's good, but you know, you can do whatever you want. However you want to call me, text me, write me. But the cell number is 917-991-9113. Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye and thanks for being here again with me. Please like the channel if you can and subscribe to it. If you don't have a Gmail account, you can just get a Gmail account, and that way all the videos would be sent to you directly, and you can make comments. I've just replied to a few of the comments that people made, comments and questions that they had on the YouTube comment section, and I post those comments with those people's permission. And I have a reviewer, a web, YouTube Psychotherapy for the Heart viewer comment page, and they're very interesting to watch also, to read. So, all right, so I'm going to sign off right now, and I'll see you hopefully in a week, if not longer, 2 weeks. I'm going to try to do a week, but I know I made promises before, and it's a lot of work, so I'll try to have them one done every 2 weeks, and if I can do more than that, I'll be happy to do it. Okay, bye for now.